So this last concept is, like I said before, from John Adair's book, and he talks about universal qualities of a leader through history. So things that a leader focuses on regardless of time and place or culture. The Chinese leaders in the Chinese community 6,000 years ago, they would have similar kind of ideas as what we're going to discuss. This is what John Adair would say from his leadership studies professorship. So let's do this. So there's three. There's task at the top there, then there's team, and then individual to the side. And what this is the interactions of need. So I think it's really odd concept, took me a while to figure it out. I think the best way to understand it is by going through what it is and then what it's not. And when you find out what it's not, you realize what it is. One of those things. Okay, so this is the interaction of areas of need. So let's get some more text here. So each of these circles represents the responsibility expected from a leader. So a leader is expected to focus on the task, they're expected to focus on the team, and they're also expected to focus on the individual. Okay? So that's task, team, and individual. Let's just move on. Like I said, it's easier to explain when you take things away. So let's go to the next slide, which is basically the situation is poor task management. So you notice that this has been crossed out. Task has been crossed out. So whoever's doing the leadership at this stage is doing terrible with tasks. It's just not happening. So poor task management. So what does that mean? How does it affect things? So the next bit, here we go. So the task is crossed out. What's going to happen? The individual motivation for something is going to fall. So let's pretend you had a project, but then for 7 months, the person who's supposed to be leading didn't give you any tasks. You're not going to want to, you're probably wondering what's going on. Then your initial motivation is going to drop because you're not. Every time you do a task and it's successful, it's like you get a little fulfillment point. And if you don't have those little fulfillment points spread across the span of a year, or whatever project plan you've got, then motivation will drop. So an example that I'm aware of is sometimes, this is going a bit more into sort of advanced stuff I think, but sometimes when I'm maybe leading a project and actually it's really quiet, so how do I manage the project, because people are not going to get those little fulfillment ticks. So sometimes I almost not make up tasks, but I give tasks that are useful and that will give that fulfillment tick for that person and keep the motivation, keep their sort of interaction with the project on a whole, even though it's not actually that useful to the vision. And maybe something I would easily do myself, or I've never done it, but not even something I've already done myself or thought about myself, but I'm asking somebody else to do it, just for the sake that they feel more involved. So this is sort of examples. And at the end of this is like activities on some situations, and I want to hear what your views are. So let's keep going. So on the individual, so the blue circle on the bottom left, motivation falls. What do you think is going to happen with the team? Just shout out. Motivation of the team? It's going to fall apart. Yeah? So motivation of the team, they're going to think, what's going on? Their fulfillment points as a team basis are going to be they're going to drop as well for the same reason. So that's what's going to happen. Team morale. So morale just means the way that the team kind of feels linked with one another for the purpose of your project. So that's what team morale is. And little progress. You're not going to get any progress. We said that right at the beginning. You're not going to get anywhere. If you haven't got any tasks, then you're not going to get anywhere. Okay. So next one. Solutions. I think we touched on some already. What do you guys think? So what sort of solutions would you have for actually what we'll do is we'll do this bit later, but just in your mind to think of ideas and things of how you would resolve an issue where you haven't got any tasks. Okay? And let's move on. So the next one that's crossed out is team. So now the leader has a situation of poor team management. And it's really important to know the difference between an individual team member and the actual team. It's very, very important because a lot of people get these sort of wrong, and the mistakes happen because they don't realise that there's a difference between these two things. So what's the difference? So again, teams crossed out. Actually, let's do that. So what are individuals going to feel if, let's pretend, for example, with the tasks are given to each individual. There's 10 people on the team, but the leader tells that one person, oh yeah, this is what you need to do, and you need to do it by then, and that's it. And then that person goes away, and then they'll tell somebody else, oh yeah, this is what you need to do, you need to do it by then, and then, yeah, that's it. And so on. So imagine 10 people being told that. What do you think is going to go through the individual person's mind?
They don't feel like a team.
They don't feel like a team. Brilliant. Yeah, brilliant. Anything else? So the individual, yeah.
There's no support from anyone else around.
Very good, very, very good. There's no support from other people because if you're focusing on a particular task, you're not really taking into account that other people might be able to help you with that task, and that the leader should be kind of incorporating the team. A good leader knows that within a team there's a particular group of people that work very well together, and a particular group of people you don't want them to work together because it won't be productive. So you group things and you work your way around it. Very good. Any other points on what the individual would be feeling? Ashley, do you want to say something? Okay. And then let's look at tasks. So we looked at individual, what they're going to feel. What are the tasks? Are they sort of broad, these tasks, or are they quite narrow? What do you think?
Narrow. I think that'd be narrow.
Narrow. Yeah. And why do you say that?
Because if you just give an individual one specific task, it's just likely to be broad.
Yeah.
Within this one specific task.
Yeah. And do you think someone who gives a lot of narrow tasks to individuals, do you think they are being the bird in the sky or the bird with the head in the sand? Head in the sand, yeah, that's what's happening. You're micromanaging, that's what it's called, micromanaging. Don't do it, so it doesn't help. There's times when you can do it and it's important, but try not to get too into this. Very good. All right, let's see what I wrote down. So my thoughts were, yep, individuals feeling isolated, so they don't feel like a team. Yep. Individuals feeling a sense of favoritism. So this is a point that I thought of, but there's other ones, of course. But I thought that if each person is being given attention, then that person doesn't know what attention you're giving to other people. They don't know the workload of the other person in the team. So they might feel like, hey, why am I getting all the tasks? Why is it always me that you're always telling me to do stuff? Why don't you give them to somebody else? I've seen that person. They spend their weekend, having fun. Why is it always me that you're picking on? They can feel that, and they could also say favoritism, which is basically, you always give that person a break. You always give that person the best tasks, because when you have a narrow sort of task, then and no sort of poor team communication, then your team doesn't know, your individual team members don't know what's happening outside, how the tasks are spread out. So let's micromanagement. No, very good. That's there as well. Solutions. So what do you guys think? What would the solutions be to this? Probably millions. So you're neglecting the team. So how would you? Let's pretend this happened. How would you rectify it?
Regular team meetings.
Very good. Yeah, regular team meetings. Minutes, and then what do you do with the minutes?
Share them.
Share the minutes. Yeah, don't take minutes and then just put them away in a box. Share the minutes so that they can see other people who may not have been at the event or need to recap on what's happening. They can see what's going on. And what was the last one? Deadlines. Yeah, deadlines. So again, trying to draw on my own experiences. There was a period between the summer holidays where obviously we weren't in the university to do tasks, so it was very difficult to keep team momentum going. And if I focus on individuals saying, hey, I need you to do this, and I need you to think about that, and I need you to do this, it would never have worked. So what we did instead is we came out with Skype meetings that had a minutes afterwards, and the minute said what the person has done previously, of the previous task, what they're currently doing and what do they hope to do until the next meeting. And you could literally see who's working a lot, who's working not so much. And the people who are not working so much, they like, oh, I've seen that, that team member's not doing so much. Let me take some of the tasks off them. And you get that sort of behaviour, which is fantastic. That's what you want. So yeah, the communication of what's happening and the deadlines are there as well. Very, very important. Let's move on to the last one. So the last one is poor individual management. So for example, this is where you're doing the tasks really well, but you're kind of only telling the team, and you're kind of neglecting the individual. Okay. So what do you think is going to happen if you're the leader, but you're just telling the task on a general level, and you're not taking into consideration individuals? What potential pitfalls are there?
Other individuals or yourself as an individual?
As the other team members, not yourself.
I think confusion.
Confusion?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're
Why?
generalizing tasks, no one knows what they're supposed to do.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
have
Yeah.
to be specific
That's
to
true.
some extent.
That's true. Yeah.
I think I would say kind of conflict and then also have as well, depending on
So they become more dependent on each other.
yeah, so like easy.
Okay. Because there's a lack of individual
Yeah.
tasks. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Anything else?
No sense of growth.
No sense of growth.
Yeah, so the idea of doing tasks is to develop your skills and grow with
Mm.
the sort of your team.
Yeah.
But if the tasks are being too generalized, you have
Mm.
some people taking on more work than they should and some not,
Mm.
but because no one is telling them what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
So not meeting goals as a project if
Okay.
you're, yeah.
That's true. That's true. I mean, it's going to affect the general effectiveness of whatever you're trying to do. Definitely. Any other ideas? Yep.
And abilities of individuals won't like be shown throughout the thing because it's a team involved.
Brilliant. Yeah, that was the last point I was looking for. So yeah. So the strengths of the individuals are not known. So that if you're giving tasks always, like imagine an email or something with all the tasks. Oh yeah, everyone's supposed to do this or something. You're not individualizing it to specific strengths and weaknesses. You're not individualizing it as Khadija was saying, as to where people's motivations are, where they need to would like to develop. So you're not focusing on these things. You're kind of giving broad tasks, and that's not effective. It's not effective. So let's see what we had done. Again, it's not an exhaustive list, just random what I thought. So individual strengths are untapped. Yep, if we got that one. Indifference to personal circumstances. So I was thinking, for example, if somebody has an exam or something's going on, if you're giving tasks on a massive, broad level, you haven't realised that that person actually needs a bit of a break right now because they've got an exam, or that person's a little bit ill. You need to work as a team to take somebody else to take on those tasks because that person can't do it. So you really need to know your team, know them inside out, so that when you give them tasks and things, you know exactly who to give what. Just a slight topic. Suggestion is very interesting. So sometimes people don't want to be told what to do. So what you have to do sometimes is make what you want them to do very easily acceptable for them to take on themselves. Let me just give an example. So in a meeting, I know there's one person to my left who's fantastic at making posters. I also know they're really busy. And I don't want to ask them to do it because then if I actually flat out ask them to do it, then they will always think, oh, they gave me the task and that person gave me the task. I gave them the task, and they'll keep that in their mindset and more sort of begrudgingly because they also know that I know that they're very busy. So instead, I'd say in a meeting something like, we really need to make this poster. I think if we do it how we were doing before, it won't be effective. and we need somebody who's got a little bit of has more skills in making a poster to come forwards and to make the poster. And the reason why it's important is because if you don't have this, then it's this. This is going to happen, and if you do it like this, then this is the benefit that's going to happen. So you kind of build a picture of not just the task, but actually the reason why it's important and why it's important for that. I'm not actually mentioning that person's name, but I'm saying why that particular person, who knows they're probably the best in making a poster, for example, in that group. And what happens? 99% of the time, that person goes, "It's okay, I'll do it." And I'm not even looking at them. And suddenly they've taken responsibility for that task. And it's just technique that is very useful. But it doesn't work if that person doesn't want to do it. That's the other thing. So if that person actually didn't want to do it at all, and I said all that stuff, then I know I can't give this task to this person anyway, because it would be beyond them. They don't have time for this task. So that's okay. So I've learned something. I've learned that person's too busy now. But 99% of the time it actually works. People just seem to want to do it. So again, that's more sort of advanced stuff. Probably should be covered in a different kind of workshop. That's what we talked about. We discussed energy, flow, and action. So energy being your passions, knowing what skills you've got, and which ones you want to develop, your motivations. You've got the channeling of that energy, of exactly where do you want to focus all this energy on? Where in the community do they need help? Where, have you used your insight to figure out where you can actually deliver in a particular aspect? Where's that focus? And then with the focus, then you've got the action, which is courage, being courageous, which is actually physically trying to do something. And again, we're not worried about things not going the way we want them to. We just want to do it, and then let's see what happens. So that's the essence of it. And then the actual journey, we've discussed things like how to form your own project, how to assess the needs of a community through the tree diagram. We know we need to think outside the box. It's all related. Every single activity was related to get you to this point, so that now, hopefully, you can actually take things further and develop your own ideas. And probably want to work with each other, I don't know, with the ideas that you've formed. But it always, like we said, with Right to Education, we only started with a simple idea. And I'll finish with this last statement, which I gave from my mum. So when we first started with Right to Education, I was saying, "Oh yeah, Mum, we're going into we're working with some volunteers, and they're going into a school to deliver a workshop on education, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do that." And her question was hilarious. It was basically, she said, "Who told you to do that? Who told you to do that?" And that's the point with this kind of ideas, this community leadership. Nobody tells you to do it. You do it because you want to do it. You do it because you believe in something. And you can do it. And it's within you to do it. And you need to take that step and try and make it happen. And we're here to support you.